nation. We've also seen that Iran's launched another missile at Turkish airspace today, obviously a NATO member, as it was narrowly shot down by a U.S. destroyer in the region, and Turkey is now warning of retaliation for the attack. Meanwhile, it's been a very bad morning for Iran's Navy, as U.S. forces have destroyed yet another top Iranian Navy ship in massive strikes, and we've also gotten big news that China is now moving toward providing Iran with weapons to wage war on the United States forces, including missile parts and pallets of cash to help keep the Iranian regime alive. So we have a lot of news, some concerning news actually coming out of the Middle East. So let's jump right into our first article, which goes to Disclose TV. And right now, this is our biggest story of the day. We are getting a very concerning report right here from the U.S. intelligence community that allegedly the U.S. has intercepted encrypted communications believed to have originated in Iran that may serve as an operational trigger for sleeper assets outside of the country. So once again, we don't know the details about how bad this actually is, but the fact we're now hearing about it in a mainstream media report is quite concerning, and we don't know really what to expect. But apparently though, a communique has been sent out from Iran telling their forces to activate around the world. So we had already known that generally before, but apparently this is formalizing it to a large degree. So we'll have to wait and see where this goes, but right now, of course, it has people on edge for good reason, and the Iranian regime is once again resorting to its old ways that it always does. So like I said, very little details, but very ominous once again. But moving into our next post here, this one's going to go to FlyTux News. We also have another big story, this time involving NATO, because we have heard that NATO has shot down another Iranian ballistic missile over Turkish airspace today, according to Turkey's Ministry of National Defense. And we actually have a statement right here from Turkey. Here's what it said. It said a ballistic munition launched from Iran and entering Turkish airspace was neutralized by NATO air and missile defense assets in the eastern Mediterranean. They said some debris from the munition fell over vacant land inside of Turkey, and there have been no casualties and no injuries. Turkey places great importance on good neighborly relations. However, they are going to emphasize that they will take all necessary measures decisively and without hesitation against any threat directed against the country's territory and airspace. So Turkey is warning Iran that they are planning on responding to the situation. And of course, this is the second time that we've seen an Iranian missile actually go into Turkish airspace, and this is very concerning to see once again. Thankfully, there were no casualties, but with Turkey being a NATO member, there's always a possibility that if there is casualties, then Turkey could technically invoke Article 5 and have a conference, and then also maybe go to war with Iran with the entire might of the NATO alliance behind them. So, I mean, this could get out of control. I'm not sure why Iran keeps trying to strike Turkey. It seems like a really stupid idea, but apparently they're still doing it as of today. But moving into our next post here, we have some more news from Jake Epstein. We've also seen here that apparently a U.S. destroyer was the one to shoot down the Iranian ballistic missile in Turkish airspace using an SM-3 interceptor, according to a Navy official. So if that is the case, once again, the U.S. came to the rescue and they were able to shoot this down in time, and apparently it was not shot down by Turkish defenses, but it was shot down by the U.S. Navy. So thankfully it was shot down by somebody. This time it was the U.S. Navy, and thankfully, like I said, there were no casualties. But moving into our next one here, this one goes to PH Gritty, and we've also seen a very big scene happening in Bandar Abbas, which is the Iranian naval port, and we're seeing a massive fire breaking out right off the coast, and this appears to be filmed from land, and I'm not really sure exactly what this could be. We'll find out in just a minute, but as you see, let's take a look at the video and see this massive smoke out in the distance in Bandar Abbas. So would you look at that, a very big fire out there. Not really sure what that is, but that looks like a ship on fire, and in fact, it looks like it's actually scorched. It looks like it's burning down, so that's a sight right there, and look at that, it's around all these commercial vessels too. So I wonder what that was, by the way. I wonder what this was in Bandar, and it just happens to be that. I just happen to know what this was. Moving into our next one here, this one goes to FlyTux Network. We have learned that apparently it is one of Iran's bat ships, as we call it, one of their Soleimani-class missile corvettes that was apparently scorched and on fire and was struck apparently by U.S. missiles. So we have an image here showing you. This is how it was identified, by the way. And this is great work, by the way, by Zara Geointelligence and also FlyTux News. There it is. You can see right there, there's the general shape of the ship, and here is what the bat ship looks like right here at the bottom. So that does appear to be the silhouette of that vessel. So I would say that's a positive ID on the ship right there, and we can see that it was hit. So let's take a look at the video. We have an up-close view of the ship burning in Bandar Abbas. Let's take a look. And there it is right there. As you can see, the Batship is going up. I guess called Batman because the USB Robin. And it looks like this ship right here has been robbed, basically. It's been robbed from the Iranian Navy. So it looks like they've lost another one. I think this might be the 3 out of 4 destroyed so far of this class of cruiser, which is named after the late horrific Soleimani, by the way. So it looks like his Martyr class frigate here, or destroyer, whatever they call it, is apparently no more. Now, I think they just have one more left, and I have a feeling that one might not last much longer. So you can see it right there. Very big hit indeed, and I must say, that's not a bad sight. A very good sight for sore eyes, I must admit. But moving on to our next one here, this one goes to Max 25. And unfortunately, in the meantime, it looks like the Iranian Navy has once again launched more attacks on tankers in the Persian Gulf. We do have a video here apparently showing another strike on a tanker, so let's take a look and see what we can tell from this clip. Let's take a look. So as you can see, that appears to be the tanker on fire out there in the distance. You can see some smoke rising from a ship, and the sailor here is pointing to it, by the way, right there. You can see out there in the distance, there it is on fire. And we don't know whose tanker that is that got hit, but as you can tell, though, it appears to be just burning up. So quite bad. Once again, Iran has hit another vessel, apparently, from the looks of it, which is obviously a reason why a lot of the ships are scared to go through the strait, because they don't want that to happen to them. So we'll have to see if the strait gets reopened. So far, it has not been reopened as of today, so we'll have to wait and see if that changes anytime soon. But moving into our next post here, this one goes to Defense Index. We've also gotten another disturbing story here. This one's about China. We've heard that U.S. intelligence has suggested that China may be moving toward providing Iran with financial assistance, basically pallets of cash, spare parts, and missile-related components. So that is what they're saying. So China could be about to provide more than just intelligence, because right now China is providing quite a bit of intelligence to the Iranian government to target U.S. forces, and so is the Russian government as well. So they are pretty much teaming up against the United States right now, and China might start providing actual material support, at least openly, from the sounds of this. So that's also concerning to hear. But moving out of this story right here and moving into our next one, we do have some good news coming out of the region. Right now, we are hearing that the Italian frigate Luigi Rizzo has successfully provided support to merchant vessels transiting the Red Sea and ensuring crews and cargo reach their destination safely. So right here, you see there's actually a picture of that vessel over there on the left, transporting or escorting a commercial cargo vessel through the Red Sea. So apparently the Italians are able to escort ships through the area, so that's a good sign right there. Maybe the U.S. Navy can start doing that through the Strait of Hormuz, possibly. We'll have to see if that can actually be accomplished, but it looks like the Italians are starting to have some success with escorting some of these ships. So that is a good sign and could be a promising future, possibly for the Strait of Hormuz. We'll have to see. But moving into our next one here, this one goes to Clash Report. And also, I did mention Turkey just a minute ago, and returning back to the whole Turkish situation, by the way, we are seeing that Turkey has sent at least 6 F-16 fighter jets and deployed them in northern Cyprus, and they're conducting a show of force flight when arriving in the region. So sadly, I can't show the videos of it, by the way, but we are seeing that F-16s of Turkish origin are showing up, and they are at Cyprus. So this could be part of the response that Turkey was expected to basically conduct against Iran, to basically ward them off to a good degree. So this could be part of that, but we'll have to wait and see, though, because of course there is a proxy force threat inside of Lebanon, and they have struck Cyprus before. So we'll have to wait and see if that causes any problems on that front. But with that, we're moving on to our next post here, and this one is going to go to Phytex Network. And we've also seen some very big strikes happening by the Israeli Air Force inside of Beirut's Dahia district. And when I say these are big strikes, I mean these are very, very big strikes. So you can see right here an image from the situation. You can see there's a lot of smoke rising up, but that only shows you a fraction of what occurred. So let's take a look at our video here and show you exactly what went down inside of this area, inside of Beirut. It was crazy. So let's take a look. So right here you can see there's the building. And damn. There goes the building right there. It just collapsed completely, as you can tell. So what a crazy scene. I'm going to go ahead and turn that and mute that down there. But as you see, that is crazy. That entire building just went literally falling to the ground right there. So an entire building was taken out. We're not sure exactly who was the target, but typically speaking, from the way we see it generally, from these airstrikes that usually happen in Beirut by the Israeli Air Force, if there's a target inside of a building, they usually take the whole building down. So it looks like that might be the case this time as well, but we'll have to wait and see exactly what this was. But obviously, that's a hell of a situation there. An entire building just got taken down. It looks looks like, inside of Beirut. So we'll keep an eye on that, but obviously some massive hits right there. But moving into our next one, this one's going to go to Ocean Defender. We also covered the story a little bit last night, but we have a lot more details about it this morning. We did see last night that there was a massive fire burning at the Bahrain Petroleum Company, also known as Bapco, at their major oil facility inside of Bahrain, following an attack by an Iranian drone or missile. So let me show you this video, by the way, one more time to show you the fire before we get into the rest of the news that we have about this situation. So there it is. That's the fire allegedly burning at the Bapco facility, as you can see right there. And obviously, I mean, it looks like Mad Max out here, like the scenery. Like, this is a wild scenery right there. But as you can see, though, it is a very big fire that hit that facility because of the Iranian attack. So that was very bad. But moving into our next post here, we get some more details about this. We are seeing that this morning, the Bahraini firefighters are still trying to put out the blaze at this facility. So it's a struggle to get this thing out. But it looks like generally they are starting to put it out. And they're obviously using a whole bunch of foam to try to put this out. So you can see here that it generally appears to be working. They're getting this thing under control, but obviously the damage has been done at this point. That was a big hit. And as a result of that, we've heard some bad news that allegedly, this is all allegedly, by the way, based on reporting, that Bapco Energies has declared force majeure on its operations following the ongoing regional conflict and a recent attack on its refinery complex in Bahrain. And the company says domestic fuel supplies remain secure and local demand will continue to be met without disruption. So if you don't know what force majeure means, that's a legal term, by the way, which basically means due to unforeseen and uncontrollable circumstances, they are not able to fulfill some aspect of something. So that's basically generally what that means in very simple terms. And it sounds like the company is prioritizing the domestic fuel supplies for the moment. So we don't know how long this is going to go on, by the way. It could be fixed shortly. And this is based on available reporting. So we'll have to wait and see what else that company says about the situation, but obviously not good. But moving into our next one here, this one goes to the Kopasai letter. And speaking of oil prices and that whole crisis going on right now, we are seeing that thankfully the U.S. oil prices have fallen back down a little bit. It's still dramatically high, but it has fallen down to $95 a barrel as the reversal accelerates. It's now just up 4% on the day, but obviously the crisis isn't over yet. And also, by the way, when I say the situation is generally generally stabilized for the minute, I mean it's stabilized from $117 a barrel. That's what it was last night when we saw it on the stream. It had risen up to $117 a barrel, and now it's fallen down to $95 a barrel. So I doubt it's going to stay like that, by the way. I'm glad to see it went down, and of course we hope this thing resolves itself soon, but I doubt this is going to be the end of the story for a long time, actually. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But moving into our next post here, this one goes to Ocean Technical. We've also gotten more footage here of American airstrikes targeting an Iranian fighter, still in its hardened shelter, by the way, at the Shiraz Air Base. So it looks like the hardened shelters are not that big of a help when it comes to airstrikes from the United States, and we're seeing these get hit left and right. So let's take a look at the video.
Welcome to the Wanderers Outpost. Here gather wanderers from different planets, each with unique...
And as you can see, there went the missile right into the side of the hardened shelter, and the whole screen has just gone black. You can barely see anything, but there it was. The hardened shelters really aren't working that well, so maybe Russia's not missing out on too much, maybe, because it looks like even with hardened shelters, the U.S. Air Force can generally get to you for the most part. So that's quite interesting right there, and it basically turns the thing into like a pizza oven, basically, with the way it starts a huge fire inside of there. So it looks like we are able to hit them anyway, which is quite wild to see, and also, once again, on camera. But moving into our next post here, this one goes to Ocean Technical. We also have some more details about Ukraine and how they're going to be helping with the entire situation right now with the interceptor crisis in the Middle East. Because thankfully, we have heard that Ukraine has deployed interceptor drones and a team of experts to Jordan, and we had heard this before, but apparently they are now arriving, and they're arriving in the Middle East to defend American forces from Iranian drone attacks. And the big news is Ukraine sent the troops immediately upon receiving the request for help from the United States. And down here, we actually have a little bit more information about that. We heard from the report that the United States made the request for help on Thursday, which was just obviously not too long ago, just a few days ago. And the Ukrainian team left the next day, according to Zelensky, and is expected to arrive in the Middle East soon, and we believe it might have arrived today. And Zelensky said, "We reacted immediately," and also he mentioned, of course, we will send our experts to help the United States. So even though Zelensky's been called P.T. Barnum and all kinds of other insulting, derogatory names recently, by U.S. officials, Zelensky did the right thing and he reacted positively and immediately sent the experts. So for all the people out there saying, oh, Ukraine's a terrible ally, blah, 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 they have showed up immediately during our time of need, which shows us that we should value Ukraine as an ally instead of simply, insulting them and shunning them, because they've lasted for 4+ years in a war against Russia, a country that was believed to win the war. And now it seems that Ukraine is actually leveling the playing field, not just for Russia, but also leveling the playing field for us, the United States, with the largest military budget on the planet, which is quite crazy. So I'm glad to see Zelensky setting a good example, by the way. I hope our leaders in the West take a cue from this and sort of realize it's better to have positive relations and simply help each other out just because you should, instead of expecting something in return. So hopefully we take a cue from that. That's a good way to operate. But jumping into our next one here, this one goes to none other than the Wild Hornets. It turns out Ukraine had the cards after all. It turns out they had an ace, and the ace up the sleeve was the Interceptor drones, as you can see right here. Also, by the way, this is apparently the model of drone that's being used to take down the Shahed, and apparently it works pretty good because the U.S. wants them badly. So it's been working for Ukraine. It appears to be working for the United States now too, and that's their ace up the sleeve right there. So very good news, and Ukraine is experts in drone warfare at this point, and we can certainly use their help, and we are very grateful for it indeed. But with that, folks, that is actually our last post of the video. But before you go though, smack the like button if you found the video informative and you enjoyed it, and also subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already for more daily war updates just like this one. And of course, we put them out whenever there is news to cover, and we also run nightly war news streams as well at 10 p.m. Eastern. Not tonight though, because it's Monday. Monday is our only day off for the live stream, but every single other day we run it at 10 p.m. Eastern every single night. So we look forward to seeing you on the stream. And also, by the way, if you want to support our channel financially, because we are crowdfunding